One of the more surprising reveals at the recent Nintendo Direct was that of Actraiser Renaissance, a remake of a classic game that fused action platforming with some city management. It first came out very early in the Super Nintendo's life and was a particular favourite of mine from back in the day. Is this Renaissance Da Vinci level in terms of quality, or does it fail to raise its act to that standard? I'm Glen Bolger, thank you to Square Enix for the review code, and now let's find out. You play as the Lord of Light, who awakens after a long slumber to find the world has fallen into chaos. You will manifest into a statue at times and use this form to slay the beasts that run amok through the world, or oversee events from above as you attempt to assist the citizens of the land earning their praise and gaining the power to defeat the evil one once and for all. So for those that have never played the original Actraiser, it's a hybrid of action platforming and city building simulation, as I mentioned just now. It features a number of different worlds, 6 if memory serves me right, and each was split into an opening act, basically a side-scrolling platforming section, a city building segment, and then a second closing act, again side-scrolling platforming, where you would defeat the boss and free that particular land of trouble. This new Renaissance edition follows this formula pretty closely, with remade versions of the classic levels and story beats, but it does add new content to beef up the city building segments in particular. Let's start with the platforming sections then. Whilst they feel a little easier than the original, falling into water will not outright kill you for example, and you now have a few different moves such as an upward strike, useful for getting rid of those irritating flying enemies. They can still be fairly difficult though, owing to the number of enemies, hazards, and the boss of course waiting for you at the end, but they do reward patience and practice. They are helped hugely by how responsive the controls are, with the classic B to jump and Y to attack working perfectly here. You will gain more moves as you progress, such as magic spells which are performed by pressing X, and a backdash move for allowing you to get out of a tight spot. On the whole though, things are kept simple and good level design makes these parts a lot of fun to play. Success in this first act will see you return to your lofty position atop the clouds, instead leaving movement to your right hand, a small angel, as you begin a city building segment. Basically here you must build up the land, increasing the population and the faith that your subjects have in you in order to close the portals, spawning monsters into the world and ultimately defeat the evil overlord oppressing the people. You do this by directing them to parts of the map that they can access where they will build homes and workshops. As I said, you guide the angel around and must defeat the enemies that roam the land with a bow and arrow, as failure to do so will see them wreak havoc on your citizens. Over time, the workshops and buildings of your city will produce resources that the angel can gather up, and some of these can be used to create gatehouses and blockhouses to further protect your city, whereas others top up your SP bar, and this SP can be used to perform miracles. These range from lightning strikes to glorious sunshine and bring in a rainstorm, and in practical terms they can be used to clear forests or dry marshlands to give you more space to build on. Completing certain missions and quests will grow your population and ultimately raise the level of your city, allowing you to build more gatehouses, and you yourself will also level up, granting the angel more HP and SP points. Now I mentioned earlier a number of portals or layers in each city, and the aim is to close these up once your population is strong enough. This is one way that this Renaissance version differs from the original, as where in that version the citizens would just surround it and close it when they were able to, here you must venture into the layer, back in your statue form and destroy what's known as a spawner in order for that portal to close. They have also added what are called settlement seizes, which act as very basic tower defense missions. Waves of enemies will attack the city and you must stop them from destroying your temple, as this will mean game over. To do this you must place enough gate and block houses beforehand in places that offer the best protection. You cannot build more whilst the siege itself is going on. You can however build small barricades once they have been created by the workshops, and use your miracles to assist the citizens in this fight. You also have a champion character from city to city who you can move in these battles to defeat enemies. This character can be leveled up and made stronger by completing missions and quests. Once all the portals are closed and the town population is at a high enough level, a new portal will appear and you will be led to Act 2 to fight the boss. Defeating them moves you to a new land to start the process again. This remake does a good job of keeping a lot of what made the original unique intact, and I applaud them for attempting to add a bit more depth and new content to what was quite a short game. My one complaint though is that it does hurt the balance between platforming and city building that the original got pretty much spot on, weighing things this time a little too heavy towards the city building, which is and always was fairly basic in nature. The new tower defense parts are okay, although I wouldn't have missed their inclusion to be perfectly honest, and whilst I did like the spawner levels, I do wish they were a bit longer, as this would have helped keep the platform builder balance a bit more. A few mod cons have been added, such as a difficulty level select, and you can save your progress from the Sky Palace, accessible from any of your cities. Gameplay retains that classic hybrid feel of action platforming and city building, although the new features have hurt the pacing a tad in my opinion. Gameplay scores 17 out of 20. Controls are incredibly responsive when platforming, perhaps a little niggly in the city sections, but they work well overall, and they also get 17 out of 20. In terms of the visuals, Actraiser Renaissance moves away from the pixel art of the original and instead adopts 3D style graphics, albeit either on a 2D plane or from a top-down perspective depending on the segment that you are playing. The main character sprite has a 32-bit look to him, reminds me a bit of the PS1 Sega Saturn era in some respects, which is certainly not a bad thing, and I loved what they have done with the backgrounds. Seeing the levels from the original brought to life, perhaps losing a little of their vibrancy owing to the change from pixel artwork, but making up for this in terms of atmosphere. The full moon hidden behind the clouds of the red sky in Bloodpool Act 1 was a sight to behold. The city segments again build on the simplicity of the original, adding more detail, although it can be a little difficult to distinguish some buildings to begin with, such as when you are trying to destroy old buildings to make way for more modern ones, but you do get used to this after a while. New story cutscenes have been added too, which helps to flesh out the world a little more. I also really liked how they kept the effect of diving into a portal, achieved via mode 7 back in the day, and it retains that same screen rotation this time round. It's a nice little tribute. Performance wise, whilst for the most part things run smoothly, there were occasional drops, most noticeable during the city building and siege parts. Nothing major, but they are present unfortunately, and the same applies to handheld mode. Talking of handheld mode, the text size is generally okay. Perhaps the mission objectives stated in the bottom left are a little small, but you can bring these objectives up from the menu in a much larger text size. I do wish that they had included the option to switch between this new graphical style and the original, but I will be fair and say that the inclusion of new moves and gameplay modes may have meant that this was not possible. I am delighted to say though that they have done this in terms of the music. Let's look at the audio now then, as Actraiser had some of the best music in any Super Nintendo game as far as I'm concerned, and hearing it here again, in both its original glory and its remastered splendour, is a real treat. Legendary composer Yuzo Koshiro compiled the music for the original game, and from the menu you can hear the classic soundtrack as you unlock each piece through playing the appropriate level. The music has also been remastered though, taking the fantastic original score and reimagining it slightly, making it feel fresh without losing what made it so iconic. As well as this, 15 new tracks have been added. My only minor gripe with the music is that the city building theme, as good as it is in both the original and remastered form, is on a pretty short loop, and due to how much time you spend in these segments, you will hear it quite a lot. I think they may have also removed some of the sound effects from the original, such as the noise made when you took a hit, but aside from these small gripes, music is top notch. Visuals freshen up the sprite work from the original, but also retain a retro look at the same time. It's interesting, but it works very well, and they get 17 out of 20. Audio is top draw. I love hearing the classic themes included too, and the remastered versions are also fantastic. It scores 19 out of 20. Actraiser Renaissance costs £24.99 and regional equivalents are on your screen now. Now I do feel this is a bit too expensive, but I have to say I'm delighted that my initial preconception that they were basically charging that sort of price for a glammed up version of a 31-year-old game, which itself could be beaten in about 4 hours unless like me you got stuck on the last boss, were completely wrong. They have expanded this concept in terms of storytelling and depth, adding new tower defense sections and the champion characters for each land. On top of this, the platforming sections have been refined, with movement now smoother than in the original and new powers added. I think $17.99 or maybe $19.99 would have been the sweet spot, but this isn't just a lazy rehash either, and I'm delighted to be able to say that. At a rough estimate, it will probably take most people around the 15-hour mark to finish, so much longer than the original, and value gets 14 out of 20. To conclude, the stealth drop of Actraiser Renaissance was a very pleasant surprise last Thursday, and I'm delighted to say that it's an incredibly fun experience. I applaud the development team for fleshing out the original and adding a few quality of life features, and I like the new art style and remastered music. I do feel as if the balance of the original in terms of the two different playstyles has perhaps been lost a little this time round, but to be fair, this is because they've added new content, which can't really be complained about too much. Fans of the original might want to jump in now, everyone else may be a slight sell, but either way, you'll no doubt have a great time. Actraiser Renaissance gets a SwitchUp score of 84%. Thank you everybody for watching this review, I hope you enjoyed it. Please do remember to leave a like if you did. Let me know which Super Nintendo game you'd love to see get a proper remake like this. For me, I think it would have to be Shadowrun. I used to love that game back on the SNES. Although it was a little bit clunky, it would be nice to see what they could do with it these days. A big thank you to our Patreons as always for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.